Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. So take the next 3 minutes. Don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used. I trust them. I want you to trust them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper. Your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content about their accomplishments or about your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. They're going to have you creating world-class content in seconds. That's Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's digital ticketing that offers more. We also want to thank our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure that we were a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our kids loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to thank our friends at Snap Raise. If you have ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed with the results, stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school because it works. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We want to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, rosters, communication. How about athletic clearance and eligibility? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and more, does them better, and it does them faster. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online program that also allows you to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses to go towards your CAA. To get started, go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably the best purchase I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. You know, athletic directors already get feedback, but usually it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And that information is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're staying right here in Florida today, and we are truly talking with an old friend. Our guest is Laz Fernandez. He is a Florida resident, longtime, I almost say a native, I guess, longtime coach and athletic director here in our state, has a tremendous background in athletics, and he is finishing up, or he's just finished up his first year at one of the premier schools, and I can say premier athletic programs too, in Florida, Belen Jesuit. Laz, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Jake, thanks so much for having me. It's a humbling experience. It's going to be a humbling experience.
Oh, no, not at all. You and I have known each other for years. We were at competing schools for a while, but I think it was a great, competitive relationship. And it's great to see you and your career as it's moved along. Speaking of that, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own high school years, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Laz Fernandez origin story?
So I was born in Manhattan, New York, to Mr. Manuel Fernandez and Mrs. Sobeda Fernandez. They're Cuban immigrants. They came from Cuba in the late 60s. I was born in New York, so I am a New York sports fan, even though I live in the magic city of Miami. I am a Miami Christian School graduate, class of 94, celebrating our 30th this year. I enjoy the city. It's hot, but it's very pleasurable to live in Miami. After I graduated in 1994, I spent 3 years chasing my baseball career, playing semi-pro baseball. So that was a great experience here in South Florida. And then after, I decided to go to Taylor University at the ripe age of 24. I was the student basketball manager for the late Paul Patterson, and I worked with Chris Holtman. Both of them influenced my career and are a part of me today in regards to the game of basketball. Chris is fortunate enough to be currently the head coach at DePaul University in Chicago, and that was a great experience. I would say being a student manager is special, and they made it special at Taylor because they made me feel like I was part of the program, and so did the student athletes. Then I went to Barry University and worked for Caesar Audio, the late Caesar Audio, as his graduate assistant. Learned a lot from Caesar. He loves student athletes. He loves the entire athletic process, especially in basketball. And he really taught me how to treat people, get to know them, and figure out how to always help them. Then after Barry, I worked at the University of Miami. Coach Audio propelled my career, and I worked for Fern Labate and Katie Meyer. I was their video coordinator and dabbled in operations at the college level. Then had the privilege to work at Miami Christian as the athletic director of my alma mater. I did that for 2 years. It was a great experience to go back and give back to the school that gave me so much. Then I did a little tour in South Florida at Hollywood Christian, Rabbi Alexander Gross Hebrew Academy, and Florida Christian, before I went to Colgate University to coach women's college basketball. Again, everything in a nutshell, all stops taught me something different. All schools are different, but everybody that I had the privilege of working for always put God first, because some of those schools are religious, and the student athlete experience overall as a priority. I'm very blessed to have 2 master's degrees along with a bachelor's, all in sports management. My latest master's was in higher education leadership.
We're going to hear about all that career stuff later. I want to go all the way back to, growing up, those high school days, or even before that in Miami. Obviously Miami's Miami, but were you in the suburbs? Were you, downtown, big city? What was that neighborhood school experience like for you?
So, no, I mean, it's a suburb of Miami. I live it's a Sunset area, close to South Miami, in between, right smack in the middle between the South Miami and Kendall. The Miami Christian experience was great, had great coaches. Rick Sanson was my basketball coach. Carlos Gonzalez, was my baseball coach. We had a lot of great experiences in regards to the academic and the athletic experience. Miami Christian only had about 130 students in the high school, even though it was a K through 12. We had a good experience comparable to what we're trying to do today, although it's a little bit more magnified with social media. But the coaches and the teachers and the administration try to put us in a situation and provided the stuff necessary for us to have a good experience, compete for championships, win some championships, and even, try to win state titles whenever that was warranted.
Now, obviously, baseball, was your big thing as an athlete. You coach basketball at a very high level, but back in Miami Christian as a high school student, I'm going to guess you probably played some different sports besides baseball, right?
Yes, I was a two-sport athlete. I played basketball and baseball. I did play football till middle school ended, and um, at the behest of my father, wanted me to focus on baseball really. But baseball was my love to play and to prepare for, but basketball was my love because everything it entails overall as a sport, and competing in it is a little bit of a different experience than baseball is. Baseball is a team sport, but it's more individualized. You can't help your team if you individually don't get better. Basketball, I wasn't that much of a scorer. I was one of those role players that gave it their best shot. But I knew, I was taught my role, and then other team, that's the difference between those two sports. But we were very successful in both. We're very fortunate enough to play great competition in surrounding schools. Some of them are still around, like Westminster Christian was a baseball power. It still is. We have those old schools that people don't remember the names. The Berkshires, Country Day is still around, has a very strong program. Palmer Trinity, Florida Christian, all those schools in this area that we're all in always have been around and have put forth great products of student athletes in other sports.
Yeah, and again, you and I were there as coaches and as athletic directors in a lot of those schools. Um, Real quick before we take our break, you went straight to pro ball. It was minor league ball, but still pro ball right out of high school. How was that adjustment? For a kid from Miami, in the minor leagues. Anything stick out? Real quick story.
I mean, it's a heck of it's a daunting task to compete at the semi-pro level. You know, I would say that opportunities don't come very often, but when they do, and different teams here in South Florida, some of them, believe it or not, are still around. There is still a semi-pro league going on here in South Florida. You get a chance to play, and you get your chance to show the big clubs that you can still play, or you may have something special that they could use in their organization. It's just very difficult because at they all figure you out, especially nowadays with analytics. I mean, they knew that Laz Fernandez can hit I don't like talking myself in the third person, but yeah, I can hit a fastball. So, after, year 2, year 3, they don't throw you the fastball anymore when it's a fastball count. So that's when I decided not to, it was definitely a major part of me. And it at that point, it defined me. But, there are other things. So it was tough. All of our student athletes now, I mean, I know the coaching fraternity in South Florida does push our student athletes to be the best they can and to seek opportunities to continue to play at the college and pro level. And, some of them have made it. We've had some great pros come out of here. It's just tough. I mean, it's different for all of us. There's so many student athletes that want to continue playing and love to play. Unfortunately, it just might become where it has to be in an adult league.
Right. No, again, I'm sure there were experiences from that time that, you put in your toolbox, if you will, and you're using them today as an administrator. Let's go and take that first break. But our guest today is Laz Fernandez. He's a certified athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Belen Jesuit Prep, and that's in Miami, Florida. Let's take that break, but we're coming back with more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to say thanks to our good friends at Gipper for their support. Your students are on social media, so are their parents. And if they're not seeing some content that's celebrating their accomplishments and promoting the athletic program, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to have you creating world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. Okay, mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more, but I will. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're going to show you how to set up and sell tickets online, not just for athletic events, but for things like school plays and concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part: every school gets assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide you hands on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. It's digital ticketing that offers more.
Jake, we use Gipper here at Belen to promote our student athletes. We're very fortunate that the communications department here at Belen assists us with that. We provide them, we try to provide them storylines, but we just give them the meat and potatoes of what happens for all our events, especially, when it's a big game or we play a rival. So they do a pretty fantastic job. Our coaches do a good job of communicating with the communications department. Everything is streamlined through email, so everybody sees everything. We don't miss everything. I mean, kind of figure we're a pretty big athletic program here at Belen, so there's a lot of stuff going on. So we really try to promote and get it right to promote the student athletes and teams that definitely deserve it.
Oh, well, thanks so much for sharing that. And again, you've got an added bonus. You have that communications department that's taking that over for you. But I can tell our listeners, it is an incredibly easy platform. It's a very cool platform too. I don't want to, sell it short. It's a great platform, but it is incredibly easy to use. And as I say, and it's true, it's so easy, even I can use it. For our listeners, we're visiting today with Laz Fernandez. He's a certified athletic administrator. He's the director of athletics at Belen Jesuit Prep, and that's in Miami, Florida. Laz, you mentioned in the previous segment that in college at Taylor, you were a manager in the athletic department, and those types of experiences, I think, can be very crucial in the development and the journey of an AD. Share a little bit with our listeners about that part of your life, some of the things you did, and maybe how they are still impacting you today.
Um, you're right. It was a great experience being the student manager at Taylor University. I got, I'm an alum, so I gotta, give it its due. Taylor University, great NAIA power in the Crossroads League. That experience opened my eyes to how much goes into the athletic experience. As a student manager, I did all the behind the scenes operation stuff, wash uniforms, set up for practice, make sure the student athletes, the basketball players got the practice plan, kind of was their personal assistant to make sure they showed up on time. They were 5 minutes early, because if you're not early, then you're late no matter what. Communication with the coaching staff, preparing for trips, making sure that the locker room is always clean. I was the person who ran the shot clock in practice, set up for drills. So when I walked into it, wanting to be a future basketball coach, I did not comprehend until that point how much one position entails. Now, there are some college basketball programs that had multiple managers. I was very fortunate that I was the only one. So I got thrown into the fire, which I even appreciate more. But more importantly, Coach Paul Patterson and Chris took their job serious in preparing the student athletes for competition, but they also took what I did serious, because like I said before, they treated me like I was part of the team. So it opened my eyes and just gave me more motivation, because at Taylor, excellence is not a one-time thing. Is that you make it a habit, as Aristotle greatly said. So, they challenged us in that aspect that, yeah, we're basketball players now, we're student athletes, but, we're preparing you for life and to give back to others.
Yeah, again, I'm just going back to my own days as a student athlete at the college level and some of those different experiences. Just great opportunities, for listeners, young listeners, embrace those opportunities. They're tremendously valuable. From Taylor, you mentioned you started your career. You had the opportunity to go back to Miami Christian, where you graduated from, and became a teacher there and an AD. I really got to know you when you were the athletic director, excuse me, the girls basketball coach, and later on the AD at Florida Christian. Talk a little bit about those years. What are some things that you remember, challenges, successes that, again, allowed you to continue to grow your career?
We had great student athletes. We had student athletes at Florida Christian that really wanted to do the right thing, and they were obedient. You're only as the program can only be as good as its players. Yes, we're the coaches, we're the vessel. We try to put them on the correct path. Um, but those student athletes were great. They did what they were supposed to. And the only reason why I could say that we had success was because of them. And we had a great 3-year run. I can remember those battles with Palmer in the regular season, in the district, and in regionals. So, I mean, it was a great run there for 3 years. Palmer won, for the Christian won, Palmer won, for the Christian won. So it was a nice experience.
Oh yeah, and the schools were not that far apart. I think the kids knew each other, the coaches knew each other. There was great respect back and forth between the two programs. Um, from Florida Christian, it wasn't a direct path, but you ended up at one of the other premier athletic programs in South Florida, Gulliver Prep. Take us on that journey, because you wore a couple of different hats at Gulliver prior to becoming the AD. How did that all play out for you?
So again, in this business, you're very fortunate enough to meet people when you start, or um, like yourself, Chuck Senna, Mark Schusterman, when you get into business and you're new, people like you guys reach out and say, hey, how can we help? So, that was the start. Getting to know uh, people like you that can put you on a pathway to be successful um, at Gulliver. So, Gulliver, again, for me, Gulliver was where I was able to get my footing down as a professional and kind of like piece everything together from the start of my career to that point in time. As all types of athletics are, everything is done to compete at a high level. So, there I understood what an organization, how it ran, how you're supposed to run an athletic department. I was the K through 8 athletic director. I was the assistant athletic director, and then became the athletic director for a couple of years. So when you get to be in an organization like a Gulliver, and you get to see how it operates from the top down, and then they give you a chance to be an athletic director, as the head of school there did, and Mark did, as he brought me in. Both Mark and Frank um, took it personal, and kind of like mentored me to make sure that I was on the right path to be successful. If that's what my career is, I think that I get to wake up every day and do it again. So I think that it's a success, and we're very fortunate enough to all the schools that I've worked at have a great reputation.
Now, again, Gulliver's been around for a long time, and you were there for a number of years before moving on to Belen Jesuit. We're going to talk about Belen Jesuit later. Um, when you came on board as the athletic director, you'd already been at Gulliver for a couple of years. What was something that you felt that they did really good, and at the same time, you thought maybe we can do this a little bit better? Anything stick out for you from building a program standpoint?
You cut out. I mean, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Again, you were at Gulliver for a couple of years prior to becoming the AD, and there's no denying they're one of the top programs in our state. When you became the athletic director, was there something in the program, within the program, that you recognized? Hey, we do this really well, but I think we can do it better. Anything stick out for you?
Well, I think student athlete development is a big part of what we do, and I think we just uh, at that point in time, I talked to our coaching staff and asked, what is it that they felt we could do as a team to improve the student athlete development experience. Teaching our student athletes to be the best leaders they can be is a major chore for us because we're trying to prepare them for the long road of life. So we work together to improve the student athlete development experience, giving them opportunities like having a student athlete, enhancing our curriculum for our student athlete leadership council, getting our student athletes to know other coaches by trying to get them to support other teams, student athletes supporting student athletes, which that's difficult in itself because the schools that you and I have worked at in the past really do put a lot of responsibility on our student athletes to perform at the highest level possible in academics and then athletics. So, I think that's what we worked on. And also getting coaches to know coaches and interact. So coaching development, because, like you said, there was so much success at Gulliver that, and sometimes there's not enough time for other coaches to get together and share best practices. So that way, we all can continue to get better.
Yeah, and it's such a fine balance, coming in and wanting to change something, but at the same time, you don't want to come in, like the bull in the china closet and break down something. Um, is there anything at Gulliver? I know I'm putting you on the spot here. Is there anything at Gulliver that you said, hey, this is pretty cool. I'm going to take it with me now that I'm at Belen Jesuit. Anything you brought with you?
Well, everybody at Gulliver got together and created a curriculum for the student athlete development program. So we have brought that here. Um, when you mentioned, Gulliver, like Gulliver as a whole, and I'm just going to talk about the athletic department because that's what I'm familiar with. Over the years, we had Chuck Toby, Mark Schusterman, Ira Childress, and then myself. Like everything kind of like formulated for what at that time the program needed. So with Marianne Katulis and the current administration under Frank Steele's leadership, just kept things going. I mean, you have your typical, daily obstacles that every athletic program goes through. But for the most part, we could go very deep historically in Gulliver, and everything's been pretty much smooth in regards to operating the program, except for the obstacles that come when they come.
No, and that's a great point. And I love how you mentioned you're taking the student athlete leadership program to Berlin in true athletic director fashion. We see something we like, okay, we're going to borrow it, we're going to take it and use it at our school.
And
For
we're
a
very
listener,
fortunate, and we're very fortunate that we don't have to, we get to copy people.
no,
It, it's
absolutely. And I was
it's
just
the
telling
best
somebody
trick of
this
the
the other
trade.
day. Athletic directors, they can't wait to share something with another school or another AD. Coaches, they keep it a little more closer to the vest, but ADs, they're giving stuff away. For listeners, once again, our guest is Laz Fernandez, certified athletic administrator. We're going to take a break, but we're coming back with a lot more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle for their support. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our students loved the videos, and of course, our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and ended up disappointed in the results? No more. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it, our parents loved it because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Snapraise.com. We also want to thank Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is a platform that you're going to use every single day for things like scheduling, rosters, scores, communication. How about student athlete eligibility and athletic clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and more. It does them better and it does them faster. To get yourself started with Home Campus, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's it. Homecampus.com.
So Jake, Belen's definitely a all school huddle customer. We just actually upgraded um, all of our cameras and upgraded the program features. And then we're also a home campus customer. Both are great tools, make the job here and our staff a lot easier, streamlining everything from being able to do the analytics on huddle and making sure we know who's cleared and contact information, taking um, personal information from our student athletes on trips. So both very critical to what we do as athletic administrators.
Well, again, Laz, I appreciate you sharing that. Home campus, Home Campus is the official platform for the state of Florida, also California and North Carolina. There might be one other state too, but if
Jersey.
you're listening in another state, you don't your state doesn't have to use it for you to use Home Campus. You can sign up as an individual athletic director and department. And again, the platform is just so easy to use, and the student athlete eligibility and the athletic clearance, I'm telling you, it was a game changer, a complete game changer. You just go to homecampus.com, talk to Kenny or Lindsay or Kayla or any of the home campus people. They're definitely going to help you out. And everybody knows what a big fan of Huddle I am. As a coach, I used it for years, but I was just so proud of the way our other coaches, volleyball, soccer, basketball, all of our coaches ended up using and loving Huddle. So, Laz, thanks for sharing that. We've been talking today with Laz Fernandez, longtime coach, longtime athletic director here in South Florida. He's just completed his first year as the director of athletics at Belen Jesuit Prep, a storied school and athletic program here in Florida. Laz, share a little bit about how you ended up at Belen and maybe some reflections so far on year one.
So the our colleagues around town like to give me a hard time because I've been at a few schools. So I love them all. They're great because you can always bounce things off of them, what they're going through, what you're going through. So it's not very often that an employee, a flag director type person leaves from one story program to another, especially that they're rivals. But the move to Belen is very simple, at least in my point of view. Um, Belen's very rich, and it prides itself on its Catholic Jesuit identity, and it's a predominantly the school was founded in Cuba in 1854. I'm Cuban American, and I just thought the combination, the time in my career, it would just be a good time to come and give back to a school that puts spirituality at the forefront of what they do, and give back to my heritage. So I mean that's plain and simple. Those people who know me here at Belen and know me at Gulliver, I mean, I respect both institutions immensely. I'm just very fortunate that I've had the experience that I had, and now it's Wolverine time.
We're going to get into the program for a little bit, but you're you You're in a unique situation, I think, or it's not that happened that often. You took over for an individual who had been the director of athletics at Belen for a couple of years. Okay. How was that coming in? And let's face it, following a legend, how did you navigate that situation?
So yeah, Carlos Barquin, we affectionately call him Bark. 54 years of service to Belen at a very high level. There is no place you can walk to on campus or anything that has to do with physical education, athletics, and summer camp that doesn't have his fingerprint on it. He's been great. He was part of the interview process, and like I know you have known Bart for a very long time. I think South Florida ADs are very supportive of each other, even though it's there's competition and so forth. But he's around. I could step into his office, ask him how things were done before, um, kind of like get an idea of what next steps could be. How can we move um, the program forward in the sense of where he left it off, and that's the approach that we're taking. We have another legend here too, a bad legend as we call him, Richard Stewart, who was the football coach for a very long time. So both of them have been great. But Bark, I could go into his office and say, hey, look, this happened today. What was your approach in the past? And then I could take that information and kind of like um, try to do the right thing today.
You've been on the job now for 1 year. Teams, and anybody in Florida knows this, teams have been, usual, very, very successful. Um, you already mentioned that you brought over the student athlete leadership program from Gulliver. Maybe start there. How was that received at Belen? And what are some things that you're looking at for next year?
So we spent this year creating and putting the curriculum together. We selected the students. So this year we actually get to roll it out. It will be live. We did something different that we've never done in the past before at any school that I've ever been at. And obviously we got this from another athletic director. We're going to do a captain's council. Every team has representation, and we're going to dive deeper into a leadership, and we'll do a leadership aptitude test and so forth. And then the student athletes council, very important. They're the Congress of the school. We want to get input from our student athletes of how the experience is. They keep their ears to the ground and can let us know what's going on at the moment, so that way we can continue to improve it. So that's kind of like where we took that, where we've taken student athlete leadership development in that direction, and then just continue to absorb what Belen is. It's I hope and I pray that this was the last transition. Transition is difficult for any athletic director, whether you're starting or you're in the middle of your career. Transition is tough, so we're trying to get an understanding about the Belen Jesuit culture to continue to take steps to create the best possible atmosphere we can for our student athletes.
Laz, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit, find out more about how you do things as a leader, or just add you to their network, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
I am on LinkedIn, Laz Fernandez on LinkedIn, and then also my email is lfernandez@belenjesuit.org, and please visit belenjesuit.org so you can kind of get a gist of what our school is all about.
We're going to take another break, but we're coming back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. This is an affordable 20-month, totally online program that not only allows you to earn your master's degree, but also complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses to go towards your CAA. To find out more, All you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We'd like to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards for all the teams, for all the events, or show off your school's Hall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history along with your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd also like to say thank you to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. It's probably one of the best purchases I ever made. Was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You're going to be very glad you did. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Laz Fernandez, the Director of Athletics at Belen Jesuit Prep, and that's in Miami, Florida. Laz, during the break, you were sharing with me about one of your programs. It's kind of a unique and a pretty cool program. Can you share that with our listeners?
Sure. Crew this year went to the Royal Heli in England and participated in that race. And it's one of our very competitive programs. Has about 80 to 100 kids in it on a yearly basis, and it was a privilege to go out there. I mean, I personally didn't go, but to send that program out there as well. As cross country is also one of our premier programs this year that finished fourth in the country as Miami Havana up in the Nike national race. And, we're doing special things at Belen. We're building a brand new 57,000 square foot facility for athletics, and we're getting a new baseball facility. So good times coming for Belen. And like you said, our program is very competitive. Most of our teams compete for a regional championship every year. And then we hope that we get through to the next round and make the state Final Four, although that's very difficult with all the great teams we have here in South Florida.
Yeah, I know a lot of programs have crew. We actually had crew when I was up at McClay, but that's an incredible road trip. You're not just going across county or cross state, you're going out of the country all the way to England. Very cool stuff. Just another reason you should reach out and connect with Laz and add him to your network. He can give you some great advice about your next road trip. Laz, one of the things we like to do on the podcast is have ADs share their journey with their state association and with the NIAAA. So you're a CAA. That doesn't happen by accident. How did you first find out about our state association and the NIAAA?
Yeah, I mean, the FIAAA and the NIAAA have been around for a long time, and they're I'm biased. I'm an athletic director, so both premier organizations. I mean, it took me 14 years to get a CAA. I took too long. I mean, I was an RA for a little bit. I do partake in the LTC program, taking a few of those courses, obviously to get certified, but also on my own time with professional development. They're always a good way to get recertified if you need that. And that's been my journey this year. I was very fortunate enough to be in an LTC classroom with you, and we taught a class together. First time that ever happened. That was also that opportunity was provided to me by Andy Childs, who both of us at different times of our careers worked for Steve Doherty at Barry. So it was very nice to get that opportunity. And the best thing that I could say is whatever the FIAAA and the NIAAA offer, there are a lot of opportunities from continue to professionally develop, but most importantly, getting involved to help progress our profession of being athletic administrators.
Yeah, that was cool that we got to teach that LTI course together. It was a good course too. As you look back on your own coursework, to get the CAA? Obviously, there's the foundational courses, the legal courses. Um, while you were taking those courses, can you remember a point or a moment where you said, "Oh, wow, I've got to bring this back to my school," either in a good way or, "Holy smokes, I got to bring this back because we're not doing it right." Anything stick out for you?
So, I mean, in transition, we always, it's our due diligence to serve correctly. And, here at Belen, last year, we sat there before, fall sports started and we reviewed the 14 duties. And I thought, I just wanted to give a refresher to these guys coming in new, kind of like get them going and what we're going to do for this year. So, I just think, in the type of atmosphere that we live in, that when you know families and their student athletes are put um in situations they compete, or we just want to protect um the overall experience and make sure we're doing the right thing.
Oh, no, absolutely. Now, I wouldn't be doing my job as a longtime member of the certification committee if I didn't ask you, what are you thinking about for your CMAA project?
So I'm torn. CMMA, I'm definitely going to fill out the application this summer before school starts. QPA program is very prestigious nationally. It's a great program. It gives you an understanding of where your program is. I think we're about a year away from deciding if we're going to do that here at Belen, but I definitely have desire to try and do that. But there's also the option to do a graduate level project and get it. So I know QPA is going to take a little longer. The graduate level project may not, but I do really like what the NIAAA has done with that program. And there's I got an email the other day that the cohort is open to sign up,
Right.
and there's more and more um, schools trying to do that. I mean, if you're a school out there and you really want to find out where you're at, and you're established as an AD there, I mean, I think it's a great um, project to take on and try to get.
No, well, and again, you made the point. If you are interested in that quality program award, the QPA, by completing your QPA either on your own or through part of the cohort group, and Laz mentioned that just opened up until it's full. They take, I think, 15. When you're done with the QPA at the end of that year, at the end of that cohort, you also earn your CMAA. So it's a great way to go 2 for 1. So very cool. And from a Florida standpoint, I still believe that the somebody is going to be the first Florida school to get a QPA. I don't think there's been one yet. So that's something to think about. Laz, this has been great catching up with you and hearing about your success at Belen. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you certainly know your way around the world of athletics, but we're going to take our final break, hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Laz Fernandez is going to put into his new athletic director toolbox. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group, and all they want to do is complain. Athletic Surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And that information can be incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com.
Yeah, Jake, we use athletic surveys by Life Track. Larry Ledgerwood is an amazing uh, person. More importantly, he helps you tailor your surveys as you see fit for your program, and even takes it a step further and reminds you when you need to do them, how you should do them, and keeps you in line to make sure you can execute those on a yearly basis. And they help us um, know what our student athletes are experiencing.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. And I don't know if it's a private school thing or not. I know there's a lot of public schools that use it, but we use surveys at my schools for everything, for teachers, for coaches, for kids, parents. And it's like I say in the commercial, having that information. And as you know, most of it, it's positive information because, the positive parents or kids, they don't tell you. It's all only the complainers. So you have that um, data to share with a parent that's saying, hey, this program is awful or this coach is awful. Well, the data really doesn't show that, but it gives you a chance to have a conversation with that parent. So thanks so much for sharing. I'm going to make sure Larry hears about that too. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Laz Fernandez. He's a longtime coach and AD here in Florida. He recently finished his first year as the director of athletics at Belen Jesuit Prep here in Miami, one of the premier schools and athletic programs I can dare say in the country. Has a tremendous background, but right now I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let him put three things in the toolbox. So, Laz, what three items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
I mean, I think back when I first started my first time. I mean, it's a definitely a daunting and overwhelming task. I'm gonna go with you got to find a mentor. Um, you have to surround yourselves with people who care about you and want you to put you in a situation to be successful. And you got to find a few of those. From my experience, Chuck Senator, Country Day, Mark Schusterman was a Gulliver, Caesar Odio, all those guys, my head of school, the head of school at Gulliver, Frank Steele, they all invested in me throughout the entire process when I first started. And then, to this point in my career, um, it's critical. I don't think that we survive. We don't survive without each other. And I say that because, as we know, relationship building is huge in our business, and you end up building relationships with all the athletic directors in your town and in your league and in your district and in your region, and we all go through different things, and it helps us just um, overcome the obstacles that athletic administrators face on a daily basis in our job. So I think finding the right mentor is critical for support on a consistent basis. Um, Secondly, I know we could go in any direction with this, and I hope that people can think about this one. Is you got to surround yourself with great people, and I'm specifically talking about your immediate staff, and then secondarily your coaching staff. There are different schools of thought on how we should approach um, relationships between athletic directors and coaches, but I think they have to know that you really care. I think you just cannot take an interest in what they're doing with their team or only their program. I think you need to look at the individual and get to know them personally, see what makes them tick, what motivates them, what doesn't, because that way you can learn how to help that person be the best they can be. And not only that, when you have a personal relationship, then you can trust them that they're going to give their right opinion in regards to running the program. I also think that if you do that, it gives you a little connection in regards to being in the weeds, um, of an athletic administrator. I'm a big believer that sometimes you have to involve yourself in the weeds to make sure you always know what's going on, or have your staff, coaching staff, and immediate staff let you know what's going on in your program, making sure things are getting done. And then if you build that relationship with that coach, then you're very fortunate enough when the tough times do come to be able to discuss how to solve the problems that present themselves. And in regards to that, I mean, when you're searching for, the staff that you want to surround yourself with, you got to make sure that you do your due diligence in regards to vetting them. I think that from a overall standpoint, um, in our business and the way things are today with social media and the internet and everything that comes with, there's something about somebody out there, and it's our due diligence to go outside of the references and the people who they worked with. Because in our business, the world is very small, to find the right fit for your school and your student athletes. So I can't say enough about the people that you hire, because they're going to be the primary individuals, them and their staff, who influence your kids to be the best possible people they can be at that moment and later on in life when they choose their family and they decide to be an example for others. So essentially, find the right people to help you be a vessel for your program and your student athletes and your school. And lastly, culture. Before you step in to your new school, or if you're in transition, make sure you know the school's culture. At Belen this year, I learned that the primary purpose of us is to lead our boys to have the best possible Catholic identity and form spiritually for their benefit as they go through Belen and after. When I was able to understand that, then I understood that I had to go with the academic culture. Like Gulliver, Belen is very high academic. It cherishes its academic reputation, and with the combination of its spirituality, trying to make men for others, and doing everything for the glory of God, we were able to understand what the culture is. Understand your culture, and I understand holistically. You need to know what every program is doing, and the extracurricular activities here at Belen, along with
athletes, is very daunting. So understand that you need to know what drama is doing, what choir is doing, what the clubs are doing, so that way we can all work in unison to provide the best experience. And as we all know, our student athletes are not just student athletes. And with that, I tell you that as you learn the school's culture in your first year, or maybe sometimes it may 2 years, you have to find somebody within the school that has a ton of institutional knowledge. And that institutional knowledge and that person can help you gain the understanding of what the school has been for the last 5 to 10 years. And it will help you navigate how you are going to lead your department in athletics. Because from the experiences that I've had over my career, I'm not a big fan, or we should not all be big fans of doing change just for the sake of change. Our changes should be calculating and deserving for the atmosphere that we're in at that time. So I give you those three, Jake. From the experiences I had as an athletic administrator, I can't tell you how important those three are, because going back to number 2, surrounding yourself with good people, you will sit one day, if you do this long enough, and have to let people go, and that's just part of it. And we're held accountable as athletic directors. That's where the buck stops. They're not looking behind us to see who's behind us. We have to explain a lot for the things that we do, and our departments are pretty big. Besides academics, we're a very close second.
No, all those tools are great, but they all wrapped around a theme for me that came back to culture. And you're absolutely right. The only thing that's harder than finding a good coach is keeping a good coach. And so as ADs, we've got to invest ourselves in them to help them not just be that first year coach, but become a better coach, a good coach, a great coach, a legacy coach. So very cool stuff. Thanks for sharing. Again, I know it's an incredibly busy time for you. Appreciate you stopping by the podcast today. One of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain just a little bit more, or as I mentioned, add you to their network. And listeners, you got a great resource here. What's the best way that they can get a hold of Laz Fernandez?
Laz Fernandez on LinkedIn. And you can also reach out to me at lfernandez@belenjesuit.org. I'm an email guy, so it's the best way to get a hold of me. And Jake, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm a big fan of the Educational AD podcast. Been watching since you got it going, and thank you for giving us opportunities to share our experiences and try to help others. Again, the AD, the athletic administration career lifespan right now is only about 4 years for athletic directors. So we need doesn't matter from what walk of life you come from, we need more ADs.
Oh no, thank you for those kind words, and that's what I said. That's why I keep doing it. We let ADs and coaches, share their stories and hopefully offer some advice to our listeners, which you definitely did today. Thanks again for sharing. All the best with the coming school year. By the time people are listening to this, I think there might be maybe 1 or 2 weeks left before fall sports start. But thanks again for coming on the podcast, and all the best.
Thank you.
For listeners, we want to thank you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of each interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We also do this just about every day, sharing stories and best practices. So come back next time for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast.